Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Steam Deck and compare it against the Nintendo Switch and see which specific console is the better one for you. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that both of these devices are kind of different, but they kind of look the same. Not even, they don't even look the same. They have kind of similar stylings between them. They're both gaming devices, but I will tell you, I think there might be a clear winner overall, but the Steam Deck is the more expensive one. Between both, if you really wanted to get down to it, the Nintendo Switch technically starts at $200 for the Nintendo Switch Lite, but clearly the Nintendo Switch OLED is the more expensive one, which does creep up a little bit closer to price tag of the Steam Deck. Now the base Steam Deck, the one that, no frills, no customizations, nothing, is about $400 for that one to start off with. So twice the price of the Nintendo Switch Lite, but only slightly more expensive than the actual Nintendo Switch OLED. But from what I can tell you, both of these devices have their place in the gaming landscape. But if I had to choose one, I would be completely honest. I think I'd probably prefer the Steam Deck over the Nintendo Switch OLED, or any of the Nintendo Switches for the most part. And the main reason for that is the ability to basically play whatever you want to, and the customizability behind the Steam Deck over the Nintendo Switch. Now, I would say if you're somebody who's playing a lot of Nintendo Switch games, or you're really engrossed in the Nintendo landscape, then maybe the Nintendo Switch makes a little bit more sense for you, especially if you already have a back catalog of Nintendo games and you don't really do much PC gaming. Let's say you don't play any games on Steam, you don't plan on customizing your Steam Deck, installing Windows or Linux or whatever else, other things, then maybe the OLED Switch might be the better way to go. I also like the fact that the OLED Switch is really focused on like multiplayer games. You have your Joy-Cons, all that stuff we'll get into in a second. But I would probably say if I had to choose one, probably the Steam Deck would be the one I would choose here. Now, in terms of the design between both of them, I actually do like the design of the Nintendo Switch. I think it is a better looking console than the Steam Deck. But the Steam Deck, I look at it and it means business. It's like, hey, let's just go and play games. Let's just get on with it. The Nintendo Switch, like the Steam Deck, isn't trying to look like the best looking console. It's just trying to be a console that you can, just hurry up and play games with. It's not really trying to like make it look cute or, enthralling or anything. The Nintendo Switch, I think, is definitely going for that type of vibe. It's looking, it looks really nice. I think it looks beautiful. And that's the funny thing about the Nintendo Switch. Every time I look at it, it just gives me that type of vibe, which is honestly very, very cool. Now, between the displays on the front, they are slightly different. They're at the max 7-inch displays, so with the OLED Switch and the standard Steam Deck. Clearly the other ones are a little bit smaller, but we'll just keep it between these displays for now. The Steam Deck's display is a little bit higher resolution, but they're relatively almost the same thing. They're basically like HD, and they're 60Hz panels as well. And between both, I think they look great. I think the Steam Deck looks awesome. I think the Nintendo Switch display on the OLED one looks very, very good. And I would say the OLED Switch's display is better than the LCD display that the Steam Deck actually has. Now, the design and the controls on the front are slightly different as well, as you guys can probably tell. You have the trackpads between the Steam Deck, which is kind of nice. You have the Steam buttons and all that other stuff. But the other styling of the buttons are kind of the same. Like, you're still getting the D-pad between both, kind of. You're still getting the ABXY buttons kind of between both. So you're really not even missing out on too much. Like, the controls are kind of the same. Like, you have the same type of controls. But clearly the Steam Deck, I would probably say the Nintendo Switch's controls might be a little more comfortable for me, but I still think the Steam Deck's controls are really, really cool. Now, another thing, they both have USB-C ports, which is great. You can technically dock these things up if you want to, but you can do it if you want to, which is cool. You have the triggers on the top. You also have extra triggers on the back side of the Steam Deck, which is honestly, again, a really nice touch. Being able to go through and just use those buttons on the back is super cool, and that's something that I really do like between both of these consoles as well, or at least the Steam Deck has it. So, at least in terms of the outside, that kind of covers it up there. Now, the Switch does have the Joy-Cons, which is nice, so you can actually go ahead and take these Joy-Cons out for multiplayer gaming. The Steam Deck doesn't have removable controls. Maybe in the future they may bring something like that, but you can always connect more controllers to your Steam Deck. With the Nintendo Switch, you can just pair up a Switch Pro controller, Joy-Cons, those types of controllers, maybe some other Bluetooth controllers. But the Steam Deck, you can pair up practically any type of controller that you want to. I'm talking PS4, PS5 controllers, Xbox controllers, Switch Joy-Cons, Switch Pro controller. Really any Bluetooth controller you can buy, you can pretty much use within your Steam Deck. The Nintendo Switch doesn't have that type of capability, which is understandable, but that is kind of something to keep in mind there too. So in terms of that, that kind of covers it up there. Now, I will also like to add, when it comes down to the gaming library, this is the biggest thing between both. You practically pretty much will have more games you can technically play on the Steam Deck than on the Nintendo Switch OLED model. And the reason I say that is because the Steam Deck is highly customizable. You can install Windows and you can play every game, almost every game that a Windows PC can play. Even just keep Steam on this thing, Steam OS, and you can play tons of, Steam games on that system as well. I would say that although the Nintendo Switch, does have tons and tons of games available for it, you are pretty much getting more of a gaming library on the Steam Deck. And I didn't know if I was going to say this or not, but I'm going to say it. With the Steam Deck, you can pretty much play Nintendo Switch games on that console. There's tons of emulators available. You can probably find a way to install every type of emulator on your Steam Deck. And I've seen gaming gameplays of people playing Nintendo Switch games on their Steam Deck. I have not done that on my Steam Deck yet, but I've seen lots and lots of people do that, and the gameplay looks very good. It looks pretty much on par to what you'd get on a Nintendo Switch. In fact, I would probably say that the Nintendo Switch OLED can sometimes run into problems running some heavier intensive games. The fans kick on a lot. With the Steam Deck, I mean, the console quality of that game is very good, and that's something that kind of stood out to me. So if you're somebody who's planning on playing a lot of Nintendo Switch games, well, you might just want to keep in the back of your head that, well, if you're planning on playing Nintendo Switch games on that console, it looks very, very good. So I don't want to just say that, oh, you need to buy a Steam Deck over the Nintendo Switch to just do emulation. You don't have to do that. But when I was looking at my Steam Deck and I was, looking at the tutorials that a lot of people have done, it is actually quite shocking to me how good the gameplay is for some of those Nintendo Switch games. So just keep that in mind at the back of your head. It is astonishing, and it's really only going to be getting better from here. And that was probably like 10 months ago. Imagine how much better the quality of those games are now. But that's just for Switch games. You can play pretty much every game you'd ever want to play on your Steam Deck. And that is something that's awesome. I love being able to have that type of capability on my Steam Deck. Even if I'm going to do it or not, it's still nice to have that type of capability. With something like the Nintendo Switch, I think this is a little bit of an interesting thing, because I feel like the Nintendo Switch, if you're stuck playing those types of games, it's awesome. If you want to play, Nintendo Switch games or Nintendo titles, the first party titles, this is the way that you should probably do it. This is how Nintendo wants you to play those games. So it completely makes sense, and I actually think that's a really cool thing. However, if there is a situation where you want to go ahead and basically play other games, or you want to, have an all-around pretty decent gaming PC, this is probably the better way to go, and it's probably the one I would recommend going down in the direction in the most part. So to kind of sum it up, what I'll tell you is, I think both of these consoles are very good, but I would say the Steam Deck clearly, in my opinion, is the better one in pretty much every single area. I can't really think of a way that Nintendo Switch OLED is the better one, besides the multiplayer gaming with the Joy-Cons, the ability of just having the hardware that Nintendo wants you to basically want to run these games on, as well as the better display on the Nintendo Switch OLED. Beyond that, I think you're getting a better console on the Steam Deck pretty much in every single way. And like I said, that's probably the way I'd recommend going over the standard Nintendo Switch, in my opinion. So that pretty much covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.